there, my name is Beck, and you're Rabbi from another planet. Please like, share, and subscribe, and ring that little bell so you're notified when new videos drop. And who likes to, who doesn't like to gaze into the future, to look in the crystal ball and see what's going to come, see what the ghost of Christmas future has in store for us. So, anybody in the BBC who's like, who would like to do that, I've got good news for you. I've got double dozy, fantastic news for you. DC Comics, those little scamps at DC Comics have very conveniently provided you a real glimpse into what's coming in your future. And we're going to be looking at that in a minute. We're going to talk about what is toxic fandom. Really, what really is toxic fandom? Doesn't it exist? And where did it come from? This all ties together. We're going to hopefully be having a little bit of a giggle. That's really the main plan. That's really what we want to be doing. Before we get into everything, can I ask you guys, can you hit the like button? That'll be freaking awesome. Thank you very much, because I kind of like you. Hitting that like button. I kind of like being liked. Who doesn't like being liked? Can you hit the share button? Get the message out there. Hit the share button. That is great. Comment is good. I try and respond to all my comments. Mostly, can you hit the subscribe button? I'm nearly at 2,050 subscribers until YouTube finds out my subscribers have gone up, and they're like, no, not for you, and they'll take a few off. But so you can hit the subscribe button. If you're subscribed, please make sure you are still subscribed. That'd be fantastic. If you're subscribed, of course, you can enter my competitions. I'm giving this prize away tonight, as long as I remember. With that proposal. So I've got a live stream tonight from 7 o'clock in the UK. It's 5 in America. It'll be noon. On the East Coast, on the West Coast, it'll be 9 in the morning. Wherever you are in the world, Australia, sometime middle. I have no bloody idea. Whatever it is, if you're on that stream, if you're there with me, can you remind me in the chat? Can you remind me what is the prize? Well, the prize is a pretty darn good one. This is the Rabbi from Another Planet's Christmas stocking, and thank God this is the last time I have to tell you about it because it takes freaking forever. So what's in the Christmas stocking? Been adding stuff to it all week. Oh, more stuff over there. So we have James Bond, Quantum of Solace on Blu-ray. We have, more James Bond. This is how it all started. I like a bit of James Bond. James Bond Legends on PS3, kind of fun shoot 'em uppy game. We have Star Trek, J.J. Abrams on PS3. We have Red Dwarf, Back to Earth. We have the Melvin Stone Mysteries, written by Nev Fountain, starring Nicola Bryant, the wonderful, gorgeous Nicola Bryant. There's no way I can say that without sounding creepy, because basically I am a bit creepy. Listen, if you're new to my channel, when I was a wee young lad, Nicola Bryant was hired to be the assistant on Doctor Who. They didn't call it the friend, the assistant on Doctor Who, and the producer at the time, John Nathan Turner, who was a very prominent gay man, Nicola Bryant described her costume that he decided she should wear as a gay man's idea of what is sexy. And she's right, it is a gay man's idea of sexy. A gay man and a 12-year-old boy. So she is like really, she was squeezed into spandex. And she's a very, very beautiful woman. She was squeezed into spandex and then put in front of me, Jeff, in the exact same microsecond as my puberty exploded. One or two more things exploded, let me just tell you. My dry cleaning bill was very high, shall we say, when Nicola Bryant was on screen. Sorry, Nicola Bryant. The Highlander, Kurgan Rising, read by Adrian Paul. There should have been only one. Countermeasures, the Movellan Manoever. I do like this story, but countermeasures action. Dark Shadows, Kingdom of the Dead, Part 1. We have, what else is there? We have this Judge Dredd graphic novel. See, there's so much stuff, I'm having trouble holding on. This Judge Dredd graphic novel, Justice 1, a pretty fun one. Judge Dredd in Space, which is where Judge Dredd is best. We have this very, very rare audio CD. This is a adaptation of one of the 1960s Dalek comic strips starring David Graham. It is called The Mechanical Planet. Came free with a magazine called Warp, which I freaking all love it. And finally, we have the Nth Doctor. This is a listing of all the Doctor Who movies that never got made. Sadly enough, never got made. In the comments, all you need to do to win it is in the comments leave the hashtag Merry Christmas, one and all. Merry. And this has been a popular prize. So I'm doing the prize draw tonight. Come along, and go check the video notes. Why check the video notes? Of course, always check my Indiegogo. If you haven't added your email address to it yet, add your freaking email address to the site. It doesn't cost you anything, and I will give you stuff, assuming that you make a purchase. If you're not going to make a purchase, just help me out and add your email address in. That'd be really, really unbelievably helpful. Thank you very much. Fine. So let's talk about the story, shall we? Let's talk about the story. DC Comics not doing so well. So this is basically what happened. It's funny. A similar thing happened at my local synagogue as well. So I'll tell you in terms of my local synagogue. We had a fantastic rabbi. I love that rabbi. And he wanted to retire. He was getting some. He was getting torn in many directions about directions the synagogue was going to go, and he wanted to retire. I was sad to see him go. So we looked for a new rabbi. The guy seemed okay. I liked him. I donated to his salary. I quite liked him. Didn't work out so well though. So what happened over a number of years, about 3 or 4 years? Our synagogue was so. The reason I moved to this town actually is because it was a place where lots of different people with, you look at Jews, you see a bunch of Jews. There's lots of different subsections of Jews. And what I really liked about the synagogue is it appealed to lots of them. It didn't really matter what type of tribe or Jew you were. Everybody was really felt at home in that, in that synagogue. So then after this rabbi was there for a couple of years, not as many people felt at home in the synagogue, right? Not as many people. In the end, he, I would say, his influence made more people want to not go in there than people go in there. So this wasn't going down so well, but nobody really said anything until Corona, COVID hit. And we weren't allowed to go to synagogue anymore, right? We had to find other ways of praying in groups. So we did that. But because I would say this rabbi, and I think the leadership of the show really pushed people away from it. Pushed them away from it. They were eager to go, and all of a sudden, the synagogue, which does its, you have to pay membership once a year for the high holidays, wasn't able to afford that rabbi anymore, right? And then people started coming back to that synagogue. So something very similar happened to DC Comics. They spent about 5 years with the creators working there, telling the most people who normally read comics that if you don't agree with their politics, if you don't agree with their political outlook, they hate you. They hate you because you are evil scum, right? And they intimated you were a bigot, a racist, whatever. And so people don't really like being called names. So they said, you know what, I don't really like when the Red Skull or Lex Luthor is saying like, well, maybe we should enforce immigration laws, because that's like I believe it is being portrayed as a villain for that. So they basically stopped reading comics. They left the comic book industry, and because they had less income, then there wasn't enough money to continue comic books. So this would have gone on, I think, until some kind of catastrophe hit. Some kind of catastrophe did hit again, Corona, COVID, and what that did, it stopped the distribution, or the ongoing distribution of comics, and it turned out a lot of people who read comics just did it habitually. They loved Batman so much they wanted to get that fix of Batman every month, no matter, even if it wasn't being like Batman anymore. Like people ask, why do you watch Doctor Who if you really hate the current era of Doctor Who? Well, firstly, I wouldn't. I got to the point where it was so awful in Orphan 55, the third episode of the 2020 series. I was like, this is not fun. I can't watch. But I watch it to review it for the comic, and I still do love Doctor Who, and seeing how they bastardize it is very, very painful to me. Like I really don't like it, but I review it for the channel, and it also makes very good content for the channel. I think you guys want to hear what's going on without actually having to put your nose into the disgusting arena that is it. So so basically what happened is because of all these factors, a lot of the people in DC Comics are finding themselves out of work, which is what we're going to be looking at first. So let me open up this window. I think is it this one? Yeah, I think there we go. Open up this window. Firstly, so DC Comics has reduced its output so much that Now I think they lost a third. It's widely rumored, and I kind of believe this rumor that they're going to just curtail publishing altogether. And the things they're going to publish are going to be just like these very, very things that are the most offensive to comic book readers because they've already left. Their only real hope was to do these very, much like Doctor Who, much like Star Trek, to do this very, I would say, extremist political and sociological allegories using comic book characters and sell them to like-minded people who are normally librarians, working for public libraries. So they would buy it. So we see this first story here. Jessica Cruz gets her own Green Lantern novel with ice. So basically, this is what they've been doing. They'd be taking like superhero characters and making versions of them which are not like them whatsoever. Not like whatsoever. So now Jessica Cruz, who was a Green Lantern, because she's has some kind of Hispanic background, now she's fighting against the immigration services, and looking at and strange enough, she's not sexy anymore. She used to be a sexy looking superhero. Now she's this weird flat-topped. I mean, you can see the picture over there. It's bizarre. So yeah, this is the sort of thing that they were making that is just not of any interest to the fans or to their readership. Much the same way the BBC. The BBC, you are very, very, very into making things that just don't appeal to people, right? They just don't have any popular appeal. Your major soap, the major soap opera the BBC has is EastEnders. Yeah, the biggest episode is normally on Christmas Day. And last year, they've lost a lot of viewers over the years, just because much like this superhero comic over here, people just aren't interested in being preached to through their entertainment, and they turn off. So last year it was pretty bad. It was I think one of the lowest ratings ever. They got 5.5 million people watching. Not very good at all. Not very good at all. This year it went a bit worse. This year it got a little bit worse because they broke the habitual habit, and also the BBC have just generated so much contempt from their audience. People are cancelling their license fee left, right, and centre, and eventually they're going to be in the same position that my synagogue was in, and DC Comics find themselves in, and they're going to be out of money, and they're going to be out of money pretty darn soon, because I just don't see this being a sustainable situation. I think Doctor Who is a very good example of everything that's wrong with the BBC. You took a very popular, entertaining show that used to be for everyone, and excitement, adventure, and it wasn't in any way, I would say, right wing. It wasn't in any way preaching, a right wing agenda. But now it's basically the Doctor is whatever that teeny tiny clump of people that live on Twitter believe in. That's what Doctor Who says. So if Greta Thunberg says something, then Doctor Who's got to say it. So people are just really not that interested in it. So they're turning away. So what does your future have to offer you, BBC? So I think this next story, which they wonderfully juxtapose. So you got this graphic novel, and this next story here on Bleeding Claw, a terrible, terrible website where they shield terribly for this ideology. This week, several DC comic creators realized they were out of work. So the week they realized they're out of work. So let's go over here. There we go. They're still plugging Wonder Woman 84. Please, don't go watch it. So this is essentially what's going to happen. We're going to read the story. And BBC, Piers Wenger, all you people working at the BBC that think your job is to be the moral backbone of Britain, maybe you want to tune into Britain's basic morality. I would say Britain is a pretty moral country. I don't think they've ever. Well, they maybe 50 years ago been a slightly racist country, because they're introduced, as most people are when they're introduced to new things, they're a little bit wary of them at first. But I think for a good 20, 30 years, we haven't been really. I grew up in the 80s. We weren't that racist then. We weren't that racist. I don't think there was any real tolerance for racism. So if you tell people who aren't racist that they are racist, if they don't like your garbage that you're constantly forcing down their throat, they will turn off. They will turn off. Much like people in my synagogue, much like people from DC Comics, and much like they're doing with the BBC. So let's see what's in your future. Bleeding Cool understands that this month a number of DC comic writers and artists realized their upcoming work for DC Comics may not be quite as upcoming as they thought. They discovered this in some cases by reading DC Comics solicitations for March 2021. They release their slate of what they're putting out March 20, in a few months in advance. The reduction of titles, as well as contracts being previously signed with creators who are meant to be working on the 5G line. The 5G line was this new one of their new ways of reinvigorating their comic book line. Again, much like BBC, by taking things that people, established characters, and then making them black or women or black women, it's so incredibly racist. I just don't understand why not make original things for original programs, original characters for by and for minorities. That's really the big problem. I think you need minority creators behind the camera to drive rather than the piss babies that live on Twitter. I think they would probably better. Why doesn't Noel Clarke, for example? Noel Clarke, very, very talented writer and director. And again, listen, it's not like we align ideologically at all. We disagree very, very strongly politically, ideologically. But I've seen his work. It's great. Adulthood, kidulthood. He does good work. Why isn't he not creating something for BBC? Why are there not different ethnicities' voices behind the camera, and that actually creates genuine diversity rather than this tokenism that the BBC wants to go into. The reason they want to go in for tokenism is because the people, the piss babies that live on Twitter are predominantly white men. And they want to keep their jobs. They're people like Chris Chibnall, people like Piers Wenger. And they're like, well, I don't think I will hand over to somebody. I think I'll keep my job for a while because I don't think they're getting any more off this. So, DC comic creators, after spending years and years on Twitter telling everybody they hate them, they hate the people who buy their comics, they found out they're out of work, and they weren't even told. Have meant their own creators without such contracts have been jettisoned from the titles. And with the editorial numbers being decimated over the last year, so the firings and this is how it's going to be for the DC. They start with the top management, and they're going to whittle it down and whittle it down. The higher up you are in DC, the earlier it is you're going to go. Now they're down to the rank and file creators. It's going to be fun. It's going to be fun when it gets there for the BBC. And when they've been named over last year, it seems that whoever was meant to inform such creators of the change in upcoming work may not have told everyone. So this is what happened. They fired so many people. The cullings were so massive, were so huge that they didn't have the staff to tell the people that they were fired that they were fired. This is the future of the BBC. Cue a number of phone calls, email threads, and an occasional WhatsApp shout out with long-time DC creators looking for work in the flow. They're looking at other places. Expect see creators coming up and their work at DC Comics popping up in solicitations from the months to come. So what this is going to do as well, it's going to push out the lower tier creators that were working for like the lower tier companies, Dark Horse, Marvel, Dark Horse, IDW, Boom. I mean, but everywhere's shrinking. There's not enough product for comic book stores to sell anymore. It's reached a tipping point, which I think the BBC has pretty much also reached. It also said that while DC Comics has created more anthology titles and titles with backup strips, the number of titles and the total page count has dropped dramatically. In March this year, DC Comics has listed 32 new items, totaling 2,632 pages. Right, so now in March 2021, they listed about 39, so that's a reduction of That'll be a reduction of 23. 23, so that's about a third. They're a reduction of 39, and they're going to get more, totaling a 1,896. So yeah, so they lost a good 700 pages worth of work, and that's basically how people get get paid through. While other publishers have also seen reductions, DC titles have dropped by a third of a year, basically, and I think their cover price has gone up. So to tap this off, to really bring this all together, I then saw this incredible interaction yesterday on Twitter that ties into this very closely. This is Gail Simone. Gail Simone is one of the people who destroyed the DC Comics and destroyed the comic book industry in general. She's one of the creators who came in and said, "We hate you. We absolutely hate you if you don't share our politics." There's a very famous clip of her good companion Kelly Cinder Comic going, "If you don't like my politics, don't buy my comics." Well, firstly, they're not your comics; they are DC Comics, and they said, fair enough. One of the titles that were cancelled was Aquaman. First time in over a decade that title's been cancelled because not enough people are reading it because they don't like your politics. And it's not that they don't like your politics; they don't like you inserting your politics into everything constantly and telling people who, if they don't agree with you on with your politics, that you hate them. So instead. She now she destroyed comic book fandom because she's what I would call a toxic creator. So I talked a bit about that toxic fandom and their part in all this. What is toxic fandom? Because we're seeing it everywhere. I think we've seen something similar across every era of fandom, including knitting fandom, which is just incredible. Fandoms that I have nothing to do with. That there's a whole new generation of fans arriving that are completely intolerant of anybody not sharing their views, much like these creators. So I don't want to say there's toxic fandom or toxic creators. I think they are toxic people, and I don't think it's in any way disconnected from. Do you remember at that time, like 10, 15 years ago, when you weren't allowed to say well done or good boy or good girl, because that instills gender identity stereotypes, and you weren't allowed to have winners or losers because that would make people feel bad. Well, the winners felt good or whatever. And people like me who kept saying, this is going to work out pretty badly. This is robbing children of their basic coping skills in life. And so those children have grown up, they got Twitter accounts, and they are completely intolerant of anything that they don't like, because they've never had to experience what failure or loss is because they've been insulated from it by their idiot parents, much like this woman Gail Simone. So let's look at this incredible lack of self-awareness that Gail Simone. So she's destroyed DC Comics, and the way they're able to do it is because you had these toxic people come into fandom and say anybody who doesn't like Gail Simone's comics or people like her comics is a bigger, these toxic fandom, these toxic people, along with the toxic creators, chased away people who love comics to the extent that they can't make comics anymore. They're not financially viable, right? At least in the mainstream. I think independent comics are going to flourish hugely from this, and are flourishing hugely from this. Please remember this when I look at my freaking Indiegogo. But it's the toxic people. The toxic people are unable to coexist with anyone who in any way differs from them. The great expression, the great description of them came from Doctor Who. Like the second story, a dislike for the unlike, which is what they are. These toxic people. So these toxic creators were cheered on by these toxic fans, giving the impression that their work was in any way popular when it wasn't in any way. The real hard metrics were they're losing money as quicker than they can make it. But so she saw that a comic book fandom was pretty much decimated, dead by these a combination of toxic creators, toxic people, and she went, I think I want to go to another fandom now and see that wither on the vine as well. So over she came, and she started tweeting and said, I was invited to spend a day at the Doctor Who studio. Yeah, this is one of the things they always like to talk themselves up. They're like, I was given special access because I'm a special person. I'm a good person. I was invited to spend their Doctor Who studio and visit the TARDIS, and somebody said they had a viewership problem. Really? No, yeah. The viewers have a Doctor Who problem. The Doctor Who problem is the Doctor Who you make is garbage. It's utter hot garbage. That's the problem they have. In that a large number of fans have never seen the show. No. It's not, they're just like, what the hey? They can't see the show. Yeah, they're fans of it. They just don't want to watch it. But here's the real telling line that she says. Seemed odd. It does seem odd because it's not real. But I see it a lot now. Oh, do you, darling? Do you see it a lot now? It's like the famous joke about the person who says, I've never seen an. I'm a great driver. I've never been in an accident. I've seen lots of them though. Weird, but I've never been in one personally. You do see it a lot now because there's not. You've lost that habitual viewing. You've forced away people who actually like the object of the fandom, and you're seeing people not purchase the stuff that you make. Yes, you are seeing it a lot now, and that's what happens when you tell everybody you hate them and they want them to go away. Eventually they go away. Eventually your hatred is stronger than their love of whatever it is that you're forcing them away from. So then my old mucker, problem being comes in and comments on this, says, so now she started going on Doctor Who fandom. Stay in your own lane, love. Yes! Go away! Your reputation precedes you. You are an awful human being. You are toxic. You are a leader of toxic fans. You are a toxic creator. We don't need your toxicity. And then once again, what is this toxicity that we're talking about? Your inability to coexist with anyone who in any way disagrees with you. That is toxic. So she then goes ahead and proves me wrong by going, yeesh. So that's so he says that's interpreted yes as a impediment. So this goes on for a bit. Then he goes, who cares? Well, I think you might care actually. I don't think you like it when you don't get full fan adulation straight away. This was a real thing that was actually said to me. Somebody on the I believe you. It's a real thing. How's that coming for Doctor Who fandom? It's you are a ball of toxicity. You have destroyed a fandom. You have destroyed something that people loved, and you did it for the. I don't know why you did. You did it to express power, I think. You are a vile human being. We have enough of you. Fortunately, we have them corralled right now. One little group of people on Twitter. So, Gail Simone dealt with that in the way that she... and then apparently she'll say, I was talking about a number of years ago. Okay, fine. Maybe from when they started bringing in the diversity and inclusivity. Was it gender, whatever you want to call it? So you started to get a viewership problem right when that happened. I can imagine that being the case, right? You coming into fandom is you coming into, you are a ball of toxicity. So hopefully this next thing shows that Gail Simone said, I'm not stepping in here. So she said, who cares? Problem being, I'll get his mic drop in. Clearly you do. I'm going to add in the comment, darling. Clearly you do, darling. Yes, clearly she does. So there you go. A little glimpse into the future of what's coming for Chris Chibnall, Piers Wenger, and all the other, I will call them arse clowns, all the other arse clowns that have taken something that a nation has loved, a nation has adored, and taken something that was so incredibly special to a large number of people and destroyed it for the ongoing glee of toxic, evil people who fortunately there are not enough of to sustain. So there you go. That's what the BBC has got to look forward to in the future. My name is Stephen Beckett, the Your Rabbi from Another Planet. Please like, share and subscribe and ring that little bell so you're notified when new videos drop.